By the late 1970s, motocross was booming. Tracks across America thundered with the sound of high-strung two-strokes, fast, fierce, and unforgiving. But out on the trails, things were different. Most trail bikes were heavy, soft, and tired. Machines like Honda's XR200 or Suzuki's PE175 could climb a hill, but they couldn't stir the soul. Kawasaki saw the gap. Somewhere between the wild KX250 race bike and the mild KE175 street legal thumper, there was room for something better. In 1979, engineers in bright green shirts began sketching the answer. A 200 cubic centimeter two-stroke that could race on Saturday and explore the woods on Sunday. It wasn't meant to scare you. It was built to make you ride one more mile. How did this humble 200 survive nearly 30 years, long after the rest of the two-stroke world had vanished? That idea soon took shape. By 1983, Kawasaki unveiled the first generation of its new creation, the KDX200. The early A, B, and C models were simple, tough, and honest. They used an air-cooled two-stroke engine wrapped inside a semi-double cradle steel frame, with long-travel suspension built to swallow roots and ruts. At just about 224 pounds, it was light enough to dance through the woods but sturdy enough to take a beating. Kawasaki called it a trail racer, and that name fit perfectly. It wasn't built for trophies. It was built for riders who wanted to keep going. The philosophy was clear. Ride more, wrench less. Spend your time on the trail, not in the garage. Against Yamaha's IT200, Honda's XR200R, and Suzuki's PE175, the KDX struck the perfect balance. More power than the four-strokes, more reliability than the race bikes. From the dusty hills of California to the mossy trails of Oregon, a quiet legend was beginning its 30-year run. By the end of the 80s, the little green trail racer had earned a loyal following, but Kawasaki wasn't finished refining it. In 1989, everything changed. The new E-Series KDX200 marked a turning point, not just for the model, but for the entire enduro class. Gone was the air-cooled simplicity of old. In its place came a liquid-cooled 198 cubic centimeters two-stroke with a reed valve intake and an improved KIPS power valve system that broadened the power band like never before. It was a total redesign. The first rear disc brake, a stronger uni-track rear suspension, and a slick 6-speed gearbox that shifted like butter. Throttle response was immediate. No lag, no hesitation, just clean, steady pull from idle to redline. With roughly 30 horsepower and 18 pound-feet of torque, the new KDX felt alive yet perfectly manageable, a bike that invited you to ride faster without punishing mistakes. In 1989, Dirt Bike magazine called it the best all-around trail bike of the year, and they weren't wrong. The KDX didn't explode with aggression like its KX cousin, but when you cracked the throttle deep in the forest, the motor sang a smooth, confident note that made you grin inside your helmet. It wasn't just improved, it was reborn, and the trail world noticed. What made that new engine truly special wasn't just the cooling system, it was the mind behind the muscle. Kawasaki called it KIPS, short for Kawasaki Integrated Power Valve System, and it changed the way a two-stroke felt. Inside the cylinder, a set of valves opened and closed with engine speed, controlling exhaust pressure like a set of lungs breathing with the motor. At low RPM, the valve stayed closed, keeping back pressure high and torque strong, perfect for climbing or crawling through tight, rocky trails. As the revs climbed, the system opened up, letting exhaust gases flow freely and unleashing the engine's full power. The result was a curve so smooth, it felt almost intelligent. Where other 200s hit like a hammer, snapping your wrists and spinning the rear tire, the KDX delivered its punch with timing and grace. It didn't try to scare you, it tried to teach you. As one rider put it, the CR250 will hit you hard. The KDX200 will show you when to hit back. That's the beauty of KIPS. It gave the green machine the brain its rivals never had, turning raw two-stroke fury into something truly rideable, truly human. Power alone never made a great trail bike, and Kawasaki knew it. What gave the KDX its magic was the way it handled that power. The frame was a semi-double cradle steel chassis, tough yet forgiving, designed to flex just enough when the trail turned brutal. If you dropped it, you could bend it back, weld it, and ride again. It was built for riders, not museum floors. Out back, the uni-track suspension worked quietly in the background, swallowing rocks, roots, and ruts like they weren't there. Up front, Kayaba 43mm forks, later upgraded to 46mm, kept the steering light but planted. The rear shock offered full preload and rebound adjustment, giving weekend riders the same tuning range racers enjoyed. With a seat height around 36.4 inches and a dry weight near 228 pounds, it felt perfectly balanced for anyone in the 5'8" to 6' range. The first time you rode one, it didn't feel like sitting on a motorcycle. It felt like becoming part of it. Every dip, every rise, every breath of the trail ran straight through the frame and into you. The KDX didn't separate rider and machine, it joined them. Out on the trail, all those pieces came together. Twist the throttle, and the KDX200 answered with a smooth, steady surge. No sudden explosion, no harsh bark, just clean power building beneath you. Then, somewhere past 6,000 RPM, the tone changed. The exhaust note sharpened into that crisp, metallic whine every two-stroke lover knows, the sound of a wasp caught in a bottle, alive and angry. Dust swirled, the scent of premix filled the air, and the trail stretched out ahead like an open invitation. The front end felt light, ready to lift at a thought. You could thread it between trees, slide the rear in a perfect drift, and feel the chassis talk back through every root and ripple. Compared to the KX, it wasn't as violent, but you could ride it all day and still have strength to smile. It didn't demand your attention, it rewarded your rhythm. Veteran riders still talk about it with a kind of reverence. One said, "The KDX doesn't scare you. It reminds you why you fell in love with dirt riding in the first place." It was a bike for real trails, real people, and real joy. And every puff of blue smoke, every echo of that braaap through the woods became part of a memory, one that still lingers long after the engine cools. That reputation didn't stay hidden for long. Through the early 90s, the KDX200 kept sweeping up praise from every major magazine. Dirt Rider, Cycle World, and Dirt Bike all crowned it Best Enduro Bike year after year. Riders called it the one machine that could survive anything, a race, a storm, or a weekend in the woods with your buddies. And then came Jeff Fredette, a legend in green. Over the course of 3 decades, he entered the International 6 Days Enduro 34 times, most of them aboard a KDX200 or its bigger sibling, the 220th. He wasn't flashy, and neither was the bike, but together they became a symbol of endurance itself. Within the off-road community, the KDX earned a quiet respect. It wasn't the fastest or the loudest, but it was the bike that always finished. It didn't win because of speed, it won because it never quit. By the mid-1990s, Kawasaki took one last step to perfect its green workhorse. In 1995, the H-Series KDX200 arrived, borrowing the perimeter frame from the KX125. It was lighter, stiffer, and sharper in every way. The new chassis gave the bike a tighter feel through corners, and the steering, already precise, became telepathic. Inside, engineers reworked the KIPS system for smoother transitions, fitted a larger radiator to keep temps steady, and added a stronger clutch to handle the miles riders kept piling on. Suspension jumped to a Kayaba cartridge fork, giving better control over roots, ruts, and high-speed whoops. The KDX had matured, not by getting complicated, but by perfecting its simplicity. Through the late 90s and into the 2000s, nothing else in the 200cc Enduro class matched its blend of lightweight, comfort, and reliability. Even as four-strokes took over the trails, the KDX kept quietly doing its job, mile after mile. In 2006, the final model rolled off the line, not because it failed, but because new EPA emission laws finally ended its run. The H-Series stood as the most refined of them all. Nothing wasted, nothing weak. The KDX didn't disappear in defeat. It bowed out with grace because the world had changed, not the machine. Even after the factory lights went dark, the KDX200 refused to fade away. Across the US, Australia, and Japan, riders kept restoring them, sometimes from boxes of parts, sometimes from pure nostalgia. Online communities like KDXRider.net and the KDX200 and 220 owners Facebook group still trade tips, stories, and spare parts like family heirlooms. They call it the thinking man's trail bike. Never flashy, never fussy, just right. Its value keeps climbing, too. What once sold for $2,000 now fetches well over $4,000 among collectors. In a world ruled by sensors and screens, the KDX remains the soul of mechanical off-road riding. Simple, responsive, and alive in your hands, the way a true dirt bike should be. Today, the KDX200 stands as more than just an old two-stroke. It's a reminder of how good engineering doesn't have to be complicated. It was never about buttons, maps, or ride modes. It was about instinct, feedback, and that silent connection between rider, machine, and nature. It represents a time when motorcycles didn't need to think for you, when the trail, your hands, and the heartbeat of a single piston were all that mattered. Because even in a world full of ECUs and sensors, the sound of a KDX firing up in the morning still whispers the same truth. Sometimes, less really is more. Have you ever kicked over a KDX? Share your first memory below. Like if you still remember that sweet two-stroke smell at sunrise. Subscribe for the next story. Yamaha WR200, the rival that faded.